Hi everyone, thanks for coming back to the channel. Today we're just going to do a simple spindle turn, and it's going to be a mortar and pestle. This is some cherry wood I had laying around the shop, and I'm just bringing the mortar blank into round with a 3/8 bowl gouge. So here you see me, I'm switching blanks at this point, and this is going to be for the pestle. Just marking center. I like to eyeball a blank this small. I don't really need to get out a gauge. You can just use a little trick where you imagine a line going diagonally across the corners and estimate the center. It's a fast, easy way to get it on the lathe and get moving. Now you're seeing me just turn the blank to round, getting rid of all the waste, and then you'll see me start the shaping of the pestle. Now that the pestle is round, I am going to just start bringing the ends over and getting a nice surface that'll match up with the mortar. This way you get a good crush and it's comfortable in the hand at the same time. So now I'm going to start putting some of the shape in. I'm just going to put some coves in. I'm coming from a couple different directions so that I'm always going downhill on the grain, making sure I'm not fighting that end grain, because that's really what's going to leave a torn out surface. So you just see me repeatedly going back, making passes, bringing that cove down a little deeper, making sure that the transitions are nice and smooth. That way it's comfortable, because nobody wants to grab a big chunky thing that doesn't feel good in the hand. And you'll notice that I'm leaving a little bit in the middle, kind of a decorative thing, I guess, but no function needed. It's just something to make it a little bit different than a straight pestle with just two lumps on the end. So now that I got the shape I want of the pestle, I'm just going to go back and I'm going to clean up the ends, make sure that they're a good round transition, and then we'll finish up the ends at a later time. But this will get me to a point where I'll do some sanding and get everything smooth, but I'm not going to bore you with sanding, and I'll do that off camera. Okay, we've put the mortar blank back in, and now you're going to just see me hollow out where we want the mortar to be for where you can do all your crushing. And it's just straight up hollowing. It is end grain, so it's not the easiest with a bowl gouge, but that's what I'm using here just to clean up the surface, a 3/8 bowl gouge. And then I'm going to come back in and I'm going to use a scraper to get some depth in there and refine the curves later on with another scraper. This is where I'm transitioning to use a scraper to get into that end grain. Usually does a good job, but of course you always have to watch for catches. Scrapers and end grain, not always the happiest to work together, but I find that it's the easiest to get rid of this material on the end grain unless you're doing deep hollowing. This is a 1/2 inch scraper I use for making boxes on a regular basis, and since the diameter is about the same, I'm just going to go back to what I know. So now that the inside's been roughed out, I'm going to go in and I'm going to kind of get an idea of how long I want this piece to be. Got a little extra on the blank, and that's okay. I'm just going to part it off here and get it down to the size that I want for the finished piece. So parting it off, and you're going to see me just make a little room to get that parting tool in and keep a mark. And then I am going to cut it in half and move on to rechucking it. So now that it's been rechucked, I'm just grabbing a round nose scraper and starting to refine that curve so I get a nice flow into the wall. That's really kind of the critical part of turning a mortar and pestle, is just making sure you get those curves to line up decent so you get good contact points and it crushes things nice and smooth. You don't want to sit there and chase it around a bowl. It's not going to be a good experience. So just finessing the curve, go to the middle, get that little knob out that you always have when you're doing the inside of a box, and smooth into the wall. Now that I've got the inside smoothed over and I think I'm content with how it feels, I'm gonna start shaping the outside. And it's not a real big piece, so it's not gonna be real fancy. It's just gonna have a nice little um, curve going down into a cove, and then that's gonna transition into the base. And I like making my mortars this way because it gives a really nice hand grip. It's comfortable. It's not something where you put it in your palm, you can hold it down on the counter, and then the base is um, used to just put your fingers on and hold it down against, so that you got a nice um, stable surface so you can get your grind. So for the outside, I've switched to a 1/2 inch spindle gouge. It just flows into a nice deep cove like that really easy. Gives me good access so I can smooth over the transitions. And I'm just checking to make sure that I'm getting an even thickness from the inside to the outside so that the walls are nice and consistent, and coming back and blending it in a little more to make sure that that's the case. I'm going to mark off now where this will get parted, and that'll be the bottom. And then you'll notice I've got a little bit left over, and I'm going to utilize that to make a jam chuck for when I need to flip it around and finish off the bottom. I usually like to have some kind of decorative element. Here I'm putting a beading and parting tool in there, and I'm going to make 3 small beads, just equal distance, and now I'm coming back with a point tool and I'm just refining exactly how those beads are in the end, but just simple, but something a little bit more than just a plain turn, and make it a little bit decorative. So now that I've parted it off, I'm coming back, and like I mentioned before, this is going to be a jam chuck, so you'll see me go back and forth quite a few times on this. I do like to take my time because otherwise you end up having to redo it. So sometimes speed is not the key. It's more important about the fit here because everything's riding on that shoulder, and if you get that shoulder too small and you try and force it, then all you're going to do is send the piece flying. So just going back and forth, and I'm starting with a spindle gouge. When I start getting closer, you'll see me switch to my scraper, and that scraper just allows me to take off real fine increments of the diameter and make sure that I get the fit that I want. Otherwise, it's like I said, you just risk it flying off as soon as you try and put any kind of pressure on with the gouge to make a nice cut. So now that I got the jam chuck to fit the way I wanted, it's nice and snug and secure. Gonna go back and we're gonna refine the bottom, get rid of all the roughness from parting it off and make a nice recessed center so that we sit on the outer edge. And one key element here is take your time. It's only a jam chuck, and when you get to the center, you will have torn out grain if you go too fast. Bottom surface all cleaned up. I'm just going to put a couple of grooves in here, make one more decorative element, and we're done. Remove it, and we've got a finished mortar and pestle. Hope you enjoyed the turning, and here's what it looks like with finish on and how it will be presented to a customer. Thanks for watching.